What up, guys? Your boy Quake, and boom, man, finally, this is what I've been wanting, the hip-hop competition. J. Cole has officially responded to Kendrick Lamar. No, we didn't get anything from Aubrey. He's still busy dropping Instagram pictures, being an IG thought, dropping captions. We got something from J. Cole, and we're going to break down everything because there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about here. So let's first get to the bars, and then I want to talk about a lot of things he was referencing, which is really cool. I think he did a lot of reflecting from Kendrick Lamar's Like That verse. He kind of replicated a lot of stuff there. And then he replicated a lot of stuff from Jay-Z's Takeover diss, which, was going at Nas. So let's go over the bars and let's see what J. Cole had to say. First, if you don't know, this is off of J. Cole's new album / mixtape. I don't know what he's going to call this, if it's an official album release, but he surprise dropped it just now, and it's titled Might Delete Later. He was dropping a lot of vlogs titled Might Delete Later with a lot of previews in between the vlogs of new music coming. So not to say that I expected this, but it's pretty cool that, he just dropped a surprise project. With that, there is a lot of tracks on the album, roughly 12 tracks with a few features from Cameron, Young Dro, Gucci Mane, so on and so forth. And on the last track, 7 Minute Drill, this is where he's responding to Kendrick Lamar. And it's clear as day he's responding to him. There's really no questions asked here of who he's talking about. So let's break down the bars and see what J. Cole had to say. So it starts out saying, light work like it's PWC. PWC is a light and energy company in Fayetteville. It's called Public Works Commission. So he's saying light work. They produce light work, and what he's mean by light work is obviously this is easy. This is easy for him, light work. And this is kind of referencing Kendrick's Like That verse where he says, and your best work is a light pack, even though that was mainly directed at Drake. Here's the thing about Kendrick's Like That verse. He's mainly dissing Drake, not J. Cole. So this J. Cole response is a proper response, and we're going to go over more why I'm saying that. It's a cold world, he says. Keep the heater under your seat. I got a phone call. They say somebody dissing. And this is where he's mentioning Kendrick, that somebody's going at him. You want some attention? It come with extensions. Now, here's more of the gun talk, and this is something that Kendrick Lamar did on Like That. He said, lost too many soldiers not to play it safe. If you walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre 3K. He follows that with, think I won't drop my location. I still got PTSD, motherfuck the big three. So you know the whole thing about that. But J. Cole starts with a lot of like bars like that where he's mentioning guns, because that's what Kendrick was doing. So you want some attention to come with extensions. My dog like say the word. He on bullshit. He itching. He's saying his homies around him can get Kendrick Lamar. They can touch him. He said, done put in so much work in these streets. He got a pension. I told him, chill out. High look having henchmen. If shots get to popping, I'm the one doing the clinching. So he's making it clear that, hey, we're gonna make this a real battle. We're gonna make this shit tight. So this is where the verse starts in, and this is clear as day. He's talking about Kendrick. I came up in the Ville, so I'm good when it's tension. Fayetteville, North Carolina is one of the more dangerous parts of North Carolina and in America. So he's saying, listen, I came up in the Ville. I'm used to this tension. Then he says this. He's still doing shows, but fell off like The Simpsons. Now, what does he mean here? Kendrick Lamar's tour of his latest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, had one of the highest grossing tours for hip-hop artists ever. Drake just recently beat that, but he had that title for a little bit. So he's saying he's still doing shows, and he's on top doing shows, but he fell off like The Simpsons. Now, The Simpsons have been running for God knows how long, I think since the late 80s, and now it's still running. And a lot of people, this is subject to opinion, feel like The Simpsons as a show fell off. So that's what he's basically referencing. He's saying, hey, they still have shows with The Simpsons, but they fell off. And that's what he's referencing with Kendrick. He still has shows, but just like The Simpsons, he's fell off. Continuing, he said, your first was a classic. Your last was tragic. Now, this is where he goes on the bars of mainly opinion. Now, there's some people that feel like this and agree with J. Cole 100%. There's some people that don't agree with J. Cole. This is mainly opinion, but this references Jay-Z's Takeover. And I'll get into that a little bit more. But he first says, your first shit was a classic. What's the official debut album of Kendrick Lamar? I know he dropped Section 80, but that was an independent album release. So he's referencing the major album releases, the official album releases, which is Good Kid, Mad City. And for the most part, most people feel like that album was a classic from Kendrick Lamar. So he's saying your first was a classic, your last was tragic. What's the last album he released? Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And to a lot of people's eyes, people felt like Kendrick Lamar underperformed on there because we were waiting for 5 years. And, after all that wait, we didn't really get what we were expecting after that long time of waiting. Now, there's other people that like the album. Me personally, I think it's a pretty good album. I don't think it's that great, but I don't just call it tragic. I disagree, but that's just my take. And then he says, your second shit put guys to sleep, but they gassed it. What is he referencing here? To Pimp a Butterfly. This is the most interesting conversation because this has a lot of people split. This album has people either that love it or hate it. There's no in between. And right now you can see on social media people arguing about, hey, this won a Pulitzer Prize. This is one of those classics, won Grammys, all this stuff. But then there's other people saying this shit was just horrible. I didn't like it. So he's saying your second shit put people to sleep. The funny thing about this is j.cole used to get a lot of slander on social media about his music putting people to sleep. I mean, it reminds me of that meme from the ATL movie. I ain't who I think it is. That meme that Big Boy says in the movie. That's what it reminded me of, because a lot of people think of J. Cole as the one that put people to sleep musically because his music was boring to a lot of people. I mean, he has a song called Folding Clothes from the For Your Eyes Only album. So a lot of people were like, you're the one to say that, but, you've got that type of catalog too. That's people's opinion, though. So he says that, put people to sleep, but they gassed it. So he's referencing To Pimp a Butterfly. Then he says, your third shit was massive, and that was your prime. And he's right. That third album was Kendrick's Damn album that was released, and that got him his highest first week sales ever, roughly 600 and something thousand first week. And they got him his first #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 with Humble. So that made it his commercial peak in terms of, what's the biggest he's been so far in his career. And it was at that moment in 2017 with Damn. I was trailing right behind, and I just now hit mine. So in a lot of people's eyes, and in J. Cole's eyes, he felt like, hey, Drake was this commercial success, huge. Kendrick reached that huge commercial success, and he was behind at the time. He hadn't reached that massive #1 hit, commercial success, huge success. And now he feels like he's hit that because he's had a lot of hits since then and a lot more commercial success since then. And he's saying, now I've hit my prime. Then he continues on and says, now I'm front of the line with a comfortable lead. How ironic, soon as I got it, now he wants something with me. So J. Cole feels like he's ahead of everybody right now. He's at his peak, and nobody's matching him. And a lot of people feel like that. Every time J. Cole's done feature guests, feature verses in 2023, a lot of people felt like it was verses of the year. But he says, how ironic, soon as I got it, now he wants something with me. Basically saying, listen, now that I got this buzz, now that I'm hot, now you want to go at me. And then he says, well, he caught me at the perfect time, jump up and see. And the jump up and see part is basically Kendrick Lamar is pretty short of a person, so J. Cole is really tall. So I'm sure he's probably referencing saying, hey, jump up and like get at me, because you're so small compared to me. But he's also probably referencing Kendrick Lamar's like that verse where he says, okay, let's get it up. It's time for him to prove that he's a problem. So he could be referencing that in that line as well. J. Cole continues and says, boy, I got here off of bars, but not no controversy. Basically saying, I've never dissed anybody. I didn't have to diss anybody to get relevant and become hot the way I am. I just did it off rapping really good, which is facts. Funny thing about it, I don't even want the prestige. F the Grammys, because them ain't never done nothing for me, ho. Now, this is where the debate comes in. Is Kendrick the big three? Is he the best? A lot of people reference Kendrick Lamar's Grammy wins and nominations versus Drake and J. Cole's. But J. Cole's like, I don't care about the Grammys. It's just a bunch of white people that don't know what they're talking about when it comes to hip-hop, which I agree with. A lot of the Grammys gets it a lot wrong, like throughout the years, has gotten it wrong multiple times. And he says, basically, hey, who cares about your Grammys? Because Kendrick Lamar has won 17 Grammys and has gotten 50 nominations, while J. Cole only has 2 Grammys and 17 nominations. So that's a huge gap, but he says he doesn't care about that. And most people that actually listen to music and hip-hop don't care about a Grammy. I personally never cared who has the most, who's won. Never mattered to me. It's just a matter of opinion and people voting. That's all it is. Continuing on, he says, slugs took my guy's soul, drugs took another one. Now, this is where he's reflecting off of Kendrick Lamar's Like That verse, because on there, he even talks about losing people. On Like That, he says, lost too many soldiers, not to play it safe, which I mentioned earlier. So J. Cole is playing off that on the 7-minute drill verse. He continues and says, slug took my guy's soul, drugs took another one. The rap beef ain't realer than the shit I've seen in Cumberland. Now, this is where he references a lot of what Jay-Z did on Takeover. J. Cole says he's averaging one hard verse like every 30 months or something. If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing him. A lot of people, when that Kendrick Lamar Like That verse came out, felt like the only reason Kendrick's getting any hype is because he's going at Drake and J. Cole. And that's the only reason he can get hype. But other than that, nobody really cares about Kendrick Lamar. That's how people felt. And that's what J. Cole is reflecting here. He's saying, listen, you don't put out that much music. You don't do any features. You barely put out music, but you drop a great verse every once in a while. And that's why people talk about you, which is referencing also the Control verse that came out in 2013 and had this huge moment. And then people kind of moved on from it. So he's saying if he wasn't dissing, people wouldn't even be checking for this guy like that, which we don't know. I mean, if Like That didn't have that Kendrick Lamar diss and it just had Kendrick Lamar rapping on it really aggressive, who knows? It could have been still a hit because it's still Like That as a song itself is a hit. People are bumping it in the clubs right now. It doesn't even matter about the Kendrick diss part, I think. And that's just what I'm noticing and observing. So that's what J. Cole is saying. Then he continues and said, Lord, don't make me have to smoke this guy because I fuck with him. But push come to shove on this mic, I will humble him. Now, this is where some people felt like J. Cole was going soft on Kendrick. You guys got to remember that Kendrick Lamar on the Like That verse was mainly going at Drake. Most of those lines were at Drake, but he sent a little shots here at J. Cole. And that's why he's saying, listen, this guy's my friend. I like him. And J. Cole and Kendrick have been friends for a while. So the fact that they're going back and forth is a surprise to a lot of people. And this next lines are funny because it references a meme that is used quite often. And it actually was used for Tony Hawk at one point, which is hilarious. He says, I'm Nino with this thing, that New Jack City meme. Yeah, I'm aiming at G Money, crying tears before I bust at him. If you guys don't know, there's a meme that goes that a lot of people have used where Nino, the character in the New Jack City film, is holding a gun and he's like crying tears because he doesn't want to kill the person, But that's what J. Cole is referencing, saying, listen, I don't want to have to smoke Kendrick Lamar because I actually like this guy. We're friends. But if I have to do it. And that's what that meme is. And it reminds me of a Tony Hawk moment on Twitter. It is hilarious. I got to show you guys. And the tweet says, when the race war is happening and I got to kill Tony Hawk. And then Tony Hawk actually responded to it saying, I appreciate the hesitation, though. Using that New Jack City meme, which is the funniest thing. That's what always reminds me of that meme. It's hilarious that Tony Hawk actually responded to that. So that's the wrap up of the first verse. Clearly towards the end, J. Cole makes it clear that, hey, this is a warning. This is me responding to the little stuff that you said on the Like That towards me. But obviously Like That is mainly towards Drake, but Drake's too busy being an IG model. So we haven't got anything from Drake yet. Continuing on, verse 2. He said, I got mixed feelings about these fucking rap guys. It's over for that cap, the official cap peelers. 2-6, we don't at guys, we get at guys. This is referencing Drake. Honestly, it should be referencing Drake. He's not really referencing Drake, but it should be because too many rappers, social media, at people on social media instead of going at them. And honestly, I would love for this to be a subliminal at Drake because it should be. He said, shoot a guy lights out. Yeah, my dogs, stat fillers, stat stuffers, triple double. Get your ass black duffled. Body bag, body bag, body bag. Continuing on, he says, cold world, you ain't strapped up for Pilates class. Get a guy stretched if I feel disrespect. Your arms might be too short to box with the god. This is another reference at Kendrick Lamar's height as a short person because Kendrick Lamar is first off, he's below average on height, but as a male, but J. Cole is super tall too. So there's a huge difference there. So he's now making fun a little bit more at Kendrick Lamar's height. And he says, who live his life without the pressures of constant facade? I pray for peace, but if a guy sees these positive vibes, a Falcon 9 inside my pocket, bitch, this rocket gon' fly. Now it's popping outside like the top of July. My text flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply. So a lot of people are probably texting him saying, please respond to Kendrick Lamar. Please respond. But these are nice bars, just bunch of wordplay. It's really good. And this is where J. Cole makes it a little bit more clear that he's more hesitant to battle with Kendrick Lamar because he actually likes him and he's friends with him. At least that's what he thought. So this is what he says. I'm hesitant. I love my brother, but I'm not going to lie. I'm powered up for real. That would feel like swatting a fly. This is where he's saying, listen, Kendrick Lamar got me really, really hyped up in this battle. And I'm feeling like I'm the best right now, period. And me going against Kendrick would feel like I'm just swatting a little fly and getting him out of here. Continuing on, this is where he references Jay-Z's bars on Takeover. I can put both the bars right next to each other on the screen. He says, 4 albums in 12 years, guy I can divide. And on Takeover, what does Jay-Z say to Nas? He says, 4 albums in 10 years, guy I could divide. That's one every, let's say, 2. 2 of them shits was due. One was Nah, the other was Illmatic. That's one hot album every 10-year average. That's what Jay-Z was saying. He's referencing a lot of Jay-Z's Takeover bars. Continuing on, J. Cole said, if this is what you want, I'm indulgent in violence. This is a reflection of Kendrick Lamar's Like That verse where he says, my temperament bipolar, I choose violence. Continuing on, he says, put pictures of my home, aim the chrome at your eyelids, fly pebbles at your dome, we the Stone Temple Pilots. And this is just referencing the Stone Temple Pilots band, which is great wordplay. He says, this is merely a warning shot to back guys down. This is clear as day. He's just saying, hey, this is a warning shot. I can go way harder than this to Kendrick Lamar. And rightfully so. I don't know why anybody would criticize this response to Kendrick Lamar, because we got to remember, like I said earlier in the video, Kendrick Lamar's Like That was mainly aimed towards Drake. Let's not get that twisted. Do not fall for this. Let's not let Drake get away with IG captions, because he was clowning Meek Mill about the Twitter fingers and taking forever to respond, saying, I waited 4 days, where y'all at on back-to-back. But now he's doing the same thing with Kendrick. So let's not let that slide, guys. Please don't get distracted with this J. Cole and Kendrick thing, even though it's honestly, I would prefer a J. Cole and Kendrick battle a lot more. But we can't let Drake slide with this stuff. So he's saying it's merely a warning shot that if you respond back with a full diss, okay, now it's on. He said, back in town where they whipping work and trafficking pounds, my jack jumping about a rapper making blasphemous sounds. And this is probably referencing Kendrick Lamar's like moaning that he makes on the Like That, like that type of sounds. He's probably like, what the hell's going on? He says, switching sides like a tassel on the cape and gown. I'm fully loaded guy. I can drop 2 classics right now. And that sums up the second verse of the 7-minute drill track. He says, hey, let me chill out, man. The fall off on the way. So J. Cole is feeling himself right now. This is like, for J. Cole, this is the ideal situation to get into a battle with somebody at his level. And Kendrick is perfect person to do it. So I don't know what's going to happen from here, but I do know one thing. Drake has been ducking everything. Drake is the one that should be, the forefront in all this, because Drake and Kendrick has been simmering for forever, more than J. Cole and Kendrick. And the ironic thing in this is on the second verse, the beat switches, and the beat is sampling Drake's Energy track. I got enemies, got a lot of enemies. That Energy track that he dropped on, if you're reading This Is Too Late, it's sampling that. So it still has a hint of Drake in here that J. Cole did. So I don't know if J. Cole is going to come out and then Drake's going to come right behind him and then Kendrick's going to respond, or is this going to be 2 separate battles where Kendrick's going to take on J. Cole, and then if Drake responds, he's going to take on Drake. We don't know what's going to happen from here, but I do know one thing. Drake has been ducking. And Drake, this is not acceptable, man. You went in on Meek Mill, and you did the back-to-back, and you clowned him. Now that back-to-back is sounding really corny of a record, because everything you said on there, you're doing yourself when it comes to Kendrick Lamar. And finally, you got somebody that has the same star power as you and can match your lyrical ability or even be better than your lyrical ability, and you're ducking him. Every time you've battled somebody, it was somebody that either had high lyrical ability and low star power, or had high star power and low lyrical ability. But now you got somebody that's even with you, or even better than you in some aspects. I think in star power, Drake's obviously the biggest, but I think lyrical ability, you could argue Kendrick is a little bit better. So Drake is ducking it. Let's not shift our attention to Drake just missing out and not doing anything. He's being an IG female, just dropping captions. That's all he's doing right now. I don't care if he's on tour. I don't care about any of that. He was clowning Meek. Now he's doing the same thing that Meek did. But I got to give really, really big props to J. Cole. Never went on social media. Didn't hear a single peep from him. I actually, on my last podcast, predicted that, hey, J. Cole might respond to him during the Dreamville Festival, which is actually this weekend. And I actually, in my mind, was thinking J. Cole was going to do the same thing Jay-Z did with Takeover on Hot 97 in the Summer Jam. You know, we previewed that verse going at Nas and Prodigy and all that, Mobb Deep. I was thinking J. Cole's going to do the same thing for a Dreamville Festival, preview a verse going at Kendrick. But he did one better and dropped the full project with the track out already before the festival. So shout out to J. Cole for not dropping IG captions, not going on social media, no Twitter fingers, but dropping music on wax. That's what we like. And Kendrick's not going to go on social media. He's not social media like either. So we're probably going to get a response from Kendrick at any given moment, maybe this month. Because Kendrick is fired up. Kendrick knew that if he's going to set this out there, he's got to have something planned if J. Cole and Drake come at him. And I'm sure he's got something planned. So it's going to be interesting, man. I love this. This is hip-hop competition. Hip-hop is a sport in itself. This is what hip-hop's about, guys. It's always been competitive. So as long as it doesn't spill to real violence, that's where things get corny in my eyes. But as long as it stays in battles, I'm all for it. So let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think of J. Cole's response? Was it a proper response? I think Kendrick gave J. Cole a little jab, and then J. Cole gave him a little 1-2 punch, and that's it. And what do you guys think of Drake? Is he ducking, or is he letting J. Cole do the dirty work for him? Because Drake has been known to do that quite a bit. So, yeah, we'll keep our eyes posted. That's it for today's video. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $3 a month, you can get my videos uncut and raw the way I intended them to be, but couldn't because of YouTube. Plus, you also get access to our Discord community, where we have a great community talking about hip-hop and various other things. It's very dope. So only $3 a month. I'd really appreciate the support. Also, follow us on social media at QuakeGW and at Diverse Mentality. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.